Hey guys, it's Ian here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're going to be doing our quarter 1 review for the year. So last year I used to do it separately, where the quarter review would be how I did with my collecting, and later I introduced how I was reading, like what my reading was so far. But this year I also want to include the unhaul for the month into this video instead of having a separate video, because most of the time I make those quite short and I don't really have too many things to unhaul. So I just decided to combine them here today. So we're going to be looking at my reading review first, then we'll look at what I collected, so my collecting goals and whether I achieved them or not. Spoiler, I didn't, but I'm so happy about my results. And lastly, the unhaul video, or the unhaul portion of the video. So if you're only interested in one of them, feel free to skip to the section you like. And if you're nice enough to watch the whole thing, thank you very much, appreciate it. And yeah, let's see, what else is there to say? Yeah, sorry I haven't really uploaded anything in a while, or have been kind of spottier with my uploads than usual. Basically, with spring break plus returning to school and then immediately having exams, I have not had time to read much, to be honest with you. And also beyond not being able to read much, even though I have read some stuff, I've not had time to sit down and record, as well as not really having the energy to do so because I'm just so busy with other stuff, right? Which is sad in some ways and good in others. So it's sad because I had this really great streak going of like basically uploading every day since the beginning of the year, except for like 2 or 3 occasions where I just didn't upload for a day. And I really would have liked to have kept that going, right? But it's fine that it didn't. And that's also why it's a good thing, which is now I don't have this pressure to upload a video every day because I have already failed at doing that, right? So that's good. Also, it gave me some time to step away from YouTube, which is always healthy because YouTube is rather weird, and just kind of putting content out there sometimes can be kind of odd. And I've managed to avoid every mental health issue that plagues my generation. So I wanted to, hopefully I will continue to avoid them. Yeah, so I needed a break from YouTube anyway. So I didn't stress too much about the fact that I didn't really upload that consistently. I think the last video I had was from like a week ago or so. I can't remember when it uploaded, but it's been at least a week and a half since I recorded anything. So that's good for me. So that's it for the intro. Let's get into it. So reading review wise, I've been reading pretty well, even though I've been kind of busy and maybe kind of also feeling a little bit slumpy. I've been watching a lot more television this year than usual, and I think that's because my roommate has been more interested in watching TV and watching like special shows, more than usual lately, and so I've been joining him, and so we've been watching, Reacher and True Detective. Is that what it's called? Yeah, True Detective Night Country, and right now we're watching Shogun, and we watched Invincible. There's a lot of stuff going on with my my personal life, right? So I end up watching TV a lot more with my friends, and so that's kind of taken away some of my reading time, but also has left me enough that I still make progress in what I'm reading. However, I'm getting to the point where my TBR is looking really, really huge, and I'm not reading enough to get over it, right? To get rid of it. So I need to slow down buying stuff, but if I do that, I'm gonna slow down. So I'm gonna be really far behind in terms of collecting. So I'm not really sure how to address the situation, right? So yeah, but reading wise, I've managed to read 31 volumes of manga so far. That's about 10 a month, although that's not really how it kind of broke down. I think most of it was at the beginning of the year, and then in this month, with February really not having too much reading in terms of manga because I was reading a lot of novels that month. So yeah, out of these 31 manga, 2 of them were actually Korean manhwa, but I don't really make the distinction for my own personal notes because manhwa I don't think is big enough, strong enough as a separate entity from manga to really be separate, right? It's not the same as like comic books, whereas comic books and manga are so distinct in like their cultural significance and the way that they're introduced to the US and the way they're printed and the way that you kind of feel when reading them. And so I'm willing to make that distinction between those two. but not necessarily with Korean manga. Korean manga doesn't really feel significantly different to me from manga. The art style is a little bit different. The storytelling doesn't really feel that different to me. The only real difference between the two, besides their country of origin, is that manga tends to be in color, whereas manga is not. But that's only true of like the webtoons era of manga, right? That's not really necessarily true of like the pre-webtoon stuff, like the stuff that Tokyo Pop used to release, right? So in my head, it's just not enough of a difference to divide them into two separate sections. But I understand if other people think that I should, right? But I'm just not going to. So yeah, about 10 volumes of manga and manhwa a month, which is not really that much. Like, I feel like I've been slacking because 10 volumes of manga should be like what I read in 2 weeks, which is kind of weird. Maybe that's a lot, and I'm just like not really able to put it into perspective or not. I'm not really sure, but to me, 10 volumes of manga a month averaged out doesn't seem like enough. Like I feel like I have enough time to read more than that, and I just haven't because of other things, right? So hopefully next quarter I'll have twice as much manga read in the 3 month period. So we'll see. In terms of comic books, I have written down that I read 58 comic books, right? And 5 of them were trades. So I actually read more like 100 and something issues. But I don't really care to make the distinction, again, just because it makes counting easier. So 58 comics, 5 of them are trades. One of them was a European comic, which was Asterix Volume 1. That was 3 different albums put together into an omnibus. And then the other 4 were just normal trades. I can't remember which ones. Or actually, I think there's only 2 trades, and then there was another set of things that was like Invincible. So I didn't really read, like I read a trade's worth of issues, but I counted it as like a trade because it was part of the hardcover collection. So like I wasn't gonna say I read one hardcover because I read like a third of it, right? So yeah, and then the other 2 things that I'm counting as trades are actually the 2 arcs of the Forge that I reviewed earlier in the year. So those are collected in trades, and I could buy them. I just won't because there's no point in double dipping like that. But I still counted them as trades because the way that I marked them down on my book, on my notebook, was as arcs, right? So the issue number doesn't count. So that's 5 trades and then 53 single issues. And I think that's 22 issues per month, something like that. No, sorry, that is completely incorrect. It's like 18 issues per month, something like that. We're 15 times 3 is 45. And then I have 8 left over. 8 divided by 3 is like 3 point something per. No, 2 point something per. So 17 volumes per month, something like that. And that's pretty good. That's more or less what I buy each month. So that's perfectly acceptable. I there's no way for me to read more comics than what I own. However, I'm only focusing on physical stuff, right, that I read. So I do have a bunch of digital comics that I have not read. And mostly all of the stuff I buy from Humble Bundle. But I do want to eventually make time to read all of that stuff, right? So yeah, that's it for comic books. And then in terms of novels, I read 9 full novels, and most of these are actually not novels. They're web novels, web serials. And then I read 2 segments of 2 different Robert E. Howard collection books, right? So I read the last 4th of the stories in The Coming of Conan the Cimmerian, and then I read the middle 3rd portion of the stories that are available in the Cole book, right? So Exile of Atlantis, I think, is the subtitle for that one. And so there really isn't too much to say here. I do need to review the Cole stories. I might have to reread them because I don't remember taking notes on them, and I couldn't find the paper for that in my notebook. So I will probably have to reread them to take notes, which is not great because that will change my impressions of them since it's the second time I read them instead of the first. And that's not gonna go in line with everything else, but you know, it is what it is, whatever. And then the 9 novels that I read are Primogenitor Saga number 4, which is called number 3, which was called Consular Times or Consular Eyes or something like that. Consular Times, I think. And then I read the first 3 Cradle novels. I read Cradle, Unsold, Black Flame, and what's the middle one called? I don't remember the name of the second book. Black Flame is the third one, and I really enjoyed Cradle. I found a new favorite book series, which is great. I do want to buy physical editions of it, but I think I want to buy the leather editions, the leather hardback editions. However, those are rather expensive, and they're not actually easily accessible. I have to like save money for them, wait for a Kickstarter, and then buy all of them at the same time. And that's not really like easy or viable for me to do because I don't really like. Basically, all the money I have is for hobbies, and you know everything else is it goes straight to paying stuff, right? And so I usually try to spend the money that I have for hobbies the month that I have it, so that I don't basically because that makes me happier than waiting a lot. And so it's kind of hard for me to actually assess. Okay, when is this next Kickstarter going to happen? Because I don't know when that is. And then how much money am I going to need? Because I don't know how much that is. And so saving money up for that isn't really viable. Like, or it doesn't make sense to me. Or it makes sense logically, but it doesn't make sense emotionally, right? So, yeah, like I save money for things. I'm aware to do it. It's just not enjoyable to do for like hobby stuff, right? It makes sense for other things, but for hobby stuff, I don't like doing it. Mostly because I don't like waiting. I'm impatient about some things, right? But if it's something like, you know, a sale that's going to happen during Free Comic Book Day, I'm willing to save money for that because I know that it's going to be a big haul that I get from that because there's a big sale that happens at my comic book stores usually, right? So, yeah, but I just don't know when the next Cradle series, the next Cradle hardcover set is going to come out, so I don't know when to save money for it, so there's no point in me figuring that out, right? So, yeah, there's no point stressing about it. So, anyway, yeah, Cradle was awesome. I really enjoyed it. Then I also read 4 of the books in The Wandering End. Technically, I read 3 volumes of The Wandering End, but volume 3 is divided into 2 different novels. I will review them next month. I have a review for book 3 already written. I just have to write and to record it. Or I have notes for the review written. I just have to record it. And I just finished reading the 4th one about 2 days ago. Actually, I think it was yesterday. And so I just need to write down notes for it, or finish writing down notes for it. So I will review that here soon, next month. And I recommend that you read the whole volume 3 altogether. Don't bother waiting to divide it into the 2 books because I think book 3, which is the first half of volume 3, doesn't actually end in a very satisfying note. Like, it doesn't really feel like there's cohesion to that whole story. You know, it doesn't feel like a whole story arc. It feels more like you kind of stop in the middle and then you have to keep going. Whereas the 4th book kind of feels more like it has that kind of more standard story arc. So it's kind of weird. I'm not really sure how to explain it. I'll try my best when I do the reviews for these books. But yeah, so that's it for my reading review. In terms of my Q1 hauling review, you know, I managed to get 1 book for Flowers of Evil. So that means I have 2 left over. And it's good because it's been quite a few years that I've had this on my list and quite a few years that I've not bought anything. So I finally bought one of the books that I was missing. I only have 2 left. Hopefully I can buy one this quarter, and if all goes well, I can buy one next quarter as well. So I'll be done by November, right? With this collection, and hopefully I'll read it before December. I bought 1 more book in the Bright Story collection, so I think there's currently 14 books in 14 volumes of Bright Story out available in English. The 15th one is not even out in Japan yet, I think. As you know, Kari Mori does a lot of stuff, and she takes a long time to bring out stuff. However, I might actually end up changing priorities here with Kari Mori's works. I might want to buy Emma instead because 1 is more expensive, so it's harder to collect. But also, those are notorious for being out of print. and they're currently in print right now. So I'm not sure that I want to wait. It might be better for me to actually start focusing on collecting Emma instead. I think there's only 4 of those books, so it'd be easier, even though it's harder because they're more expensive. So maybe I'll do that. There's also the Scribbles series, which is just a bunch of like annotated art book type thingies that Corey Mori has that are very similar in size to Bright Story right there. So I do want to get those. They're the same price and they're a little bit thicker than the Bright Story books actually. So I don't know. I think there's another series that she has, or some other, you know, out of print book that was available from her in English, but I'm not really sure. But I'm thinking about changing priorities from Bright Story to Emma. We have to see. I might end up just buying the first volume, reading it and seeing if I like it more than Bright Story or about the same. And if I like it about the same, I'll probably end up just, you know, alternating between the two as I see fit. And if I like it more, I'll buy Emma instead, and then come back to Bright Story later. Or if I like it less, I might just not collect it at all. I'm not really sure, but I have known quite a few people that tell me it's good, including Robert, my friend, my longtime friend. So I'm pretty sure that I will want to buy it. I got one more volume of Gleipnir this quarter, so I'm halfway through collecting the whole thing, but it's kind of scattered. It's not actually in order, which bothers me. I don't like buying books out of order in a series, but at the same time, when it comes to getting deals over, you know, collecting in order, I think getting deals is more important because I already know that I like the series. I'm pretty sure I'll like it until the end. So I'm willing to buy books out of order if like the price is really good. And so far I managed to not buy any books in this series out of the 3 or 4 that I bought in the last 6 months at more than $9. So that's really good. Actually, a few of them I got for like $3. So I was willing to take the risk of maybe not liking it later because if I sell it off, I'll probably end up getting a little bit of money that I wouldn't have otherwise, right? So if that makes sense, like I'll make back some of my money because I will sell it at half price where I got it for like a quarter price, right? So hopefully that makes sense. I don't know. I'm not I'm not doing a great job today. I don't know. Yeah, and then I got the final volume of Marry a Billionaire. Actually, I think I got the last 3 volumes this year, but the important one was the last one that I got this month, actually, at the beginning of this month, which finalizes a collection, lets me read the whole thing, which I am have not been able to start, but I should be able to do it before the end of the month. I will, although I won't probably finish it by the end of the month. But that was one of the goals I set for myself, so I want to strive to do so, right? So that means I'm halfway done with Bright Story, halfway done with Gleipnir, completely done with Marry a Billionaire, and I am chugging along with some of the other stuff. Technically, I'm also halfway done with Flowers of Evil, but you know, a little bit more than actually, because the omnibuses are 3, 2, right? So I'm more than halfway through, but you know, who cares? In terms of new things that I bought for the collection, well, I started collecting Innocent, Steel of Celestial Shadows, which is awesome. Virgin Love, which I completely, immediately unhauled. It's actually going to be in the next segment of the video here. I started hashtag DRCL or Dracula, and I actually enjoyed it. It's very weird, and I will do a review for it here soon. But I liked it enough, especially for the price that I got it for, that I'm willing to shop around for the next volume and hopefully get it for a good price, right? If I do get for a good price, I will buy it and continue collecting the series. I think there's only 4 or 5 volumes in the series anyway, so it's fine. I didn't like how hard the spine was, but it's kind of par for the course, especially for those like hardcover, you know, generic Viz volumes, because Viz apparently has shittier and shittier quality the more and more they grow and become kind of like the big manga guy, right? So yeah, although honestly Kodansha is probably going to kick their ass here soon because they're doing a much better job. They're kind of getting their ass together in terms of quality control, at least more so than usual. So I'm looking forward to seeing if there's going to be a big kind of, you know, moment where Kodansha outstrips Viz and becomes like the big publisher here in the US. I wouldn't hold my breath for it, but I think it might be possible, right? So Yeah, I got Gachi Akuta #1, which is a Kodansha title. It's larger than all of their other normal sized books. It comes with a higher price tag, but I think it's actually worth it for the book. The art style is phenomenal. Can't remember if it has color pages, but it definitely has the inserts onto the cover that cover the little kind of cute little drawings and gags that they put on the outside of the paperback in Japan, right? So trade off there, I guess. But Gachi Akuta was good. I managed to collect Heart Gears 1 through 3, or Heart Gear 1 through 3 this quarter. I didn't set out to do so because I've already read it online and I didn't necessarily need to buy this set of books. But 2 of them I got for $3 off in-stock trades, and 1 of them I got for less than cover price at like $9 or $10. So in total, I spent less than half of what this is supposed to cost. So I'm quite happy with that. And hopefully I'll be able to get the 4th book in the series, which is going to come out next month or the month after that, for around a similar price, to keep it kind of in that like a little bit more than half, maybe a little bit less than half worth, half price of what it would be if you bought it at cover. Because I love the series, but you know, I don't necessarily need to buy something I've already read if I can read it again online, right? So it is what it is, but I'm happy I got it because I really love this series, right? So yeah, then I started Yomotsu Hegui, which is the first Masasumi Kagisaki book or manga that's available in English. Hopefully this sells well, people like it, I think it's quite good. So that we can get all of his other works, like Rainbow, like Hideout, like Bestiarius. There's another one that I like that I can't remember. I don't know. I have all of them in Spanish except for Rainbow. The husband and the spy and his wife. That's also one that he did. Like I said, I have all of them, or most of them. And I don't necessarily need them, but I really want them to be available in English, right? So yeah, then I started the Threesome. This is by the people that did Futari Ecchi, and I haven't read it yet, but cool. Char's Counterattack. That's the first Dempa book I own. It looks nice. The spine is a little cracked because I got it used, and also I think that the spine is just kind of hard. But it's a good book. I got the Battle Angel Alita hardcover, the first one. I can't say I love it. Like, I like that it has glossy paper, but at the same time, it feels kind of weird because like it doesn't feel like a manga should. So I don't know. I'm very confused about how I feel about that, but I'm happy that I got it because I've been wanting to collect these for a long time. I think Alita is a very interesting series, even though I have no real knowledge about it. I just think that the concept of it, this girl that is like a cyborg, is really cool, very Astro Boy-esque, but also from the artwork, quite different, right? So yeah, then I got Gal Gamer #1. I'm excited about this one. I recently finished collecting Furisan is Scary, so I needed a new cute girl, lame boy romance story. And this one happened to be the one I was interested in. However, I'm kind of sad about it because this was supposed to have spot coloring, which means that there's just 1 or 2 colors that are used and printed onto the book. And everything else is in black and white. And it was supposed to be blue hair for the boy and pink hair for the girl. And that doesn't seem to be the case in the American version, which is weird because Yen Press, which is the publisher, is well known for having done this for a few other series, right? So the fact that they didn't bother with this one is bad, right? Because they've been able to do it before, so why are they not doing it now? And then still charging the same price as everything else, right? It's not great. I also got Tengen Hero War. This is the second book I buy from Titan Manga, or Titan Comics, their manga division. And hopefully it's good. I really liked Kamen Rider Kuga conceptually, and I thought that the art style was great. But I found out through Twitter that it was machine translated, and I can't support that. They said that they were going to fix it. I don't know if they have, so if you know, let me know down below, because I would like to continue collecting that series. I just chose not to when I found out that it was not translated by a real person. And I bought this because it feels very similar to Record of Ragnarok. And I really like Record of Ragnarok. And there's a bunch of other series that are like it that I really want to read, that I want available in English properly. What's it called? It's like Witches War or something. It's like, 99 Witches of Evil or something. I can't remember the name of it, but I know it's available to read in English, but it's machine translated online, and it's like from the magazine that publishes it, but I don't want to read that. It's also one of those weird like gacha game things. Like you have to get tickets or something, and I don't want to bother with that crap. So hopefully by buying Tengen Hero War, hoping that it's not machine translated and that it reads well, that will show the manga market, and the people that are in charge of the manga companies, that hey, this type of battle royale like story type works. Bring all the other ones that are available, and hopefully we get that Witches War one that I'm really interested in. I just can't remember the name of it, sorry. And then finally, the last new book that I got this quarter was I Want to Hang Out With You at the Supermarket, Behind the Supermarket. This is a very nice book from Square Enix. Usually the only Square Enix book that I buy is Dress Up Darling, and the only reason why I don't buy any of their other books is because they're really like small, like they're really slim for a pretty high price tag, so I don't bother buying them because I don't think that they're worth it, right? But this one, it's actually quite thick and it looks real good, so hopefully I like it and I enjoy it, because it'd be nice to have something other than Dress Up Darling from Square Enix, right? So yeah, in terms of like achieving my goals, well, I didn't really do that great of a job. I mean, I got some things that I needed. I only got 3 out of my like 20-something long list of volumes that I needed to catch up from 2023, and that's not great. That's actually quite bad comparatively to like other quarters that I've like analyzed and looked at from my own buying. So I think that's not great, right? So overall, I think I failed at achieving my goals this quarter. But I can't say that I'm unhappy with the results, because I got a lot of cool series that I'm very interested in that I want to continue to collect, right? And so I made my job harder. I didn't really succeed. I didn't manage to catch up, but I can't say that I'm unhappy. So I think that is ultimately a fine result, right? I don't want to stress about this, because I don't want this to turn into something that feels like a job, right? So I'm happy with my results. I don't have any issues. Hopefully I'll strive to do better this next quarter and focus more on getting old titles that I'm not caught up with, instead of focusing on getting new titles, right? But I don't know, I'm kind of getting into the point of my journey where, maybe I'm willing to forget some series, and it's time to really prune my collection a bit more. I'm not really sure. I think I'll leave that for next year, for the 5-year anniversary of the channel and of my manga collection. Maybe that's when I'll do a big pruning. And for now, I'll just kind of focus on what I want to focus on, right? So I don't know. I'm kind of been thinking about that the last couple of weeks. So we'll see. But that's it for the review section. Let's look at the unhaul section here. So I'm not really unhauling anything here because I dislike it. In fact, I quite like most of this stuff. But for whatever reason, it was time to remove it from my collection. Either because it didn't really work for me, I'm not really interested in collecting more of it, or because I got a different edition, a different version of the story, or because I just have not had a chance to buy more of it, and it's time to kind of get rid of it because I probably won't get around to buying more of it, right? So nothing meaningfully bad about any of these series. I think they're all enjoyable in some way or another. I'm just getting rid of them because they just don't match what I'm looking for right now, right? So starting with that specifically is Virgin Love. I mentioned in my review, my first impressions review, that this was pretty entertaining, but it really didn't manage to connect with me properly because of 2 major issues, right? The first issue is that it introduces this possible romantic partner quite quickly into the story before they even get to the crux of this story, which is jumping into a love house. He gets introduced, and we can clearly see that they are supposed to be the couple of this book. And they might not be, but the impression that I got was very clearly these 2 are going to be together. Why are they even bothering to go into this love house? If they just talk naturally to each other for like more than 5 minutes, they would probably end up wanting to go out with each other naturally, right? So that's the first major issue. And the second issue is that this character is like in her 30s or about to turn 30, and there's a character that's 19 in the story. Now, I'm very much in the camp that, you know, if you're both older than 18, who gives a crap? Do whatever you want, right? However, the female character specifically mentions, oh, he's 10 years younger than me. This makes me feel uncomfortable, or it might be problematic. And I think she uses like a specific term, but I can't remember what term it was, to define like the issue. And then decides that she doesn't care and is going to do it anyway. But she doesn't decide she doesn't care. It's more like the story forces her to like exist with this character, even though she hasn't really resolved her issue that she posed to the reader, right? And so that was bad writing, in my opinion, and also makes it so that I like her less than I would otherwise. I really liked the character up until that moment, and then I realized, oh, she's kind of annoying or hypocritical, or maybe not the right person or the type of person I thought, right? And so this isn't really a mistake. Like, it's not something that is recoverable, in my opinion. It's something that really immediately defines that I'm not going to enjoy this character, and so I'm just not going to bother reading more, even though there was a lot of cool things here that I quite enjoyed. It reminded me a lot of like a soap opera, and I enjoy them. I mean, I'm from Mexico. I grew up watching quite a few of them because that's what my mom had at TV while we were eating dinner, and so I don't really have a problem with soap opera type stories. Actually, in fact, I kind of enjoy them, but this one doesn't really work that well because I'm not attached to the main character. So it doesn't work for me, but I'm sure it works for a lot of other people, and so I want to share this with the world and not keep it to myself, right? So yeah. Then this one's kind of slightly different. This is kind of different from everything else, actually. I'm getting rid of this volume specifically of Tokyo Revengers because I bought this from Half Price Books. It was completely new. There was nothing wrong with it. It was like actually just new, but it was overstocked. And so Half Price Books had a bunch of them. I bought it for half price, obviously. And then a few weeks later, or actually maybe like a month or two later, my roommate gave me a few of these books for Christmas, and so I had a double, right? I had two of the same book, and so there's no point in me keeping it, so I'm going to resell it, hopefully make some money off of it so I can buy more manga. Then we have The Beginning After the End, which is just, it's not exactly a ripoff of Mushoku Tensei, but it definitely has a lot of, like, oh, this is basically Mushoku Tensei for a long time, right? However, I still like it. I think it's interesting and enjoyable. However, I don't really want to buy these anymore because of two things. One, first of all, they're really, really skinny, and they're $20, and this is not, I don't think it's the right price for this, because the solo leveling books are about twice as thick for the same price, right? So I don't think it's worth it. But also, and actually, I think the reason for this cost difference is tapas. I'm sure that if it wasn't a tapas book, it would probably only be $15 because they're so thin. And the other thing is that I recently bought the first volume, which is more or less what these two books cover, of the story, like the novel, for $2 on Kindle. So I'm just gonna read it via the novel, which is the original work, and I just like that better than this, right? So I'm gonna go with that, and I need to get rid of these. However, they're kind of beat up. I don't know why. That's how they all ended up showing up to my store, but I was able to get them at discounts, so I wasn't too mad about it. But they have some denting, which is not great, but it is what it is. Then we have Tomb Raider King. This showed up at my local Walmart. I was very excited about it. It's very similar to Soul Leveling in terms of art style, quite different in terms of like approach. But the second volume never came out. Well, it came out, but it never arrived to my Walmart, so I couldn't get it for a discount price, and I have not been able to find any discounts for it. So it's been like a year. I've not really thought about this story since I read it and was really excited about it, and so I don't think that it's really for me. And at this point, I don't want to set up myself for disappointment, in the sense that I know that basically every Reduce Studio manhwa is just a copy of Soul Leveling, and I don't need to have like 7 other books that are exactly the same as Soul Leveling in how they look and how they kind of feel. And so there's no point in me collecting this, even though I quite liked the concept initially. I don't think that I will continue to enjoy it with a year's worth of perspective. So I'm just not gonna keep it. Although I did really enjoy it initially, I just don't think I will nowadays. And then this is Eve and Eve. This is a Yuri post-apocalyptic sci-fi type collection. I can't remember what I said in my review of this, but a few years after the fact, I don't think I remember anything in here. And that doesn't really inspire me. That doesn't mean that, that means that this is not, special. And it was just kind of taking up space that I don't really feel that it needed to take up in my collection. So we're getting rid of it, which is sad because that means I have now officially removed all of my short story anthology manga collections, except for Dirty Pair. Although those aren't those are like franchise IP type things. It's not really the same as like a generic anthology. And so that means that now I have a kind of hole in my collection. There's like stuff that I don't have. But I don't know. I think I don't really enjoy short stories. And I mentioned this before, but I just don't think that short story manga works for me. And so, yeah, that's it for that. So that was my unhaul. And that was the whole video. So this was a lot longer than I thought it would be. Mostly because I haven't really recorded in a while, and so I'm just talking more than usual. But hopefully you guys don't mind and you enjoy this, and let me know, what your collecting goals have been like, what have you managed to achieve, how has your reading been like, and what have you recently unhauled. Let me know down below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I really do appreciate it. And see you guys later.